Welcome to the November edition of Maythorn Monthly. Brian is in Bulgaria and we join him first in Sofia. The theme is transport, and in particular public transport in this capital Bulgarian city. Are you there, Brian?
Yes, I'm here, thank you. Nice of you to keep the shop going while I'm away. So welcome to Bulgaria, and as we have a transport spot first, the first place we're going to go to is Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria. So we'll whiz down there by the wonder of video. So, welcome to Sofia, and first of all I'll talk to you about the transport system here. If you're familiar with transport for London, you'll understand the whole tap-on, tap-off thing that you can use a credit or debit card with. They have that here too. So, first journey we made was from the airport. The metro goes into the airport station. You tap your debit card onto it and it charges your card for that journey. On the way out, you just go through a barrier. You don't tap out, just tap in. So I got charged on my Bulgarian Lev account with Trading 212, one Lev 60, and Ruth used her Starling debit card, which is denominated in British pounds, and it translated to charging her 69p. So really reasonable price for coming from the airport right into the centre of the city of Sofia. And the other thing that was interesting to note, by the way, the metro, although it's overground a lot of the time, is in some kind of covered walkway type tunnelling. So it's above the surface, but you can't see out across the city as you travel, which is, I think, a bit of a shame. The travel card situation, which the local residents have a travel card, whereas we use just our debit cards, they can be used on all the public transport here. So you've got the metro, you've got trams, there's a lot of trams. You maybe see a few in the background while I'm talking to you. There's trolley buses and there's ordinary bendy buses, although they're not ordinary in a lot of cities in Britain, but we do see those particular type of buses. So that's the transport system. It's all very good, makes it very easy to get around, and everything's located quite well. This is more or less the centre of Sofia, and I'm going to go and have a look around some of the historic buildings around here. Although first, I think I need a cup of coffee. And just down the road from here, we were looking at this rather interesting old building, and of course a tram goes past as I'm doing it. And right opposite that building was a cafe where we got some nice coffee and cake. You've got to, haven't you?
Pour me another cup of coffee.
Right, I'm in the ruins. There's a story behind this too, and it's a transport story. Before I do, I just want to put my financial hat on. I mentioned that Ruth had a fare on the metro here for 69p. If you bank with one of the legacy banks, they're likely to charge you a different exchange rate because they take a bit out of it, and they're likely to make a foreign transaction charge. So your 69p fare could end up costing you several pounds, so watch out for that. Always try and use one of the new banks, the Monzos, Starlings and Chase of this world, or a card that you know won't charge you all those things. That's that bit over with. Now I'm at Serdica. Serdica is the station that we had to change at. When you come in from the airport, you're on the orange line, and then you have to change at Serdica onto the blue line to get up to the central station to catch a mainline train. And Serdica 2 was built for this purpose. Serdica 2 is the station that revealed all this. When they built Serdica 2, they dug down and found all these remains. Now, most of them are from the 4th to 6th centuries. I think some of the stuff behind glass that's being preserved over there is from the 1st to 3rd century AD. Yeah, AD, let's not get that wrong. So this is what they dug out to make Serdica a new station. And the other thing I'd like to compliment them on is exactly what Serdica 2 looks like. The actual internals of the structure of the building where the two tracks are and the platforms, to me, it's just right. You know, it doesn't look like a typical underground station, that's for sure. It looks good. Well, here is one of their typical underground stations, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a wire fence down in front of the trains. They tell us in Britain to stand behind the yellow line, so they don't want any accidents, but this wire fence would prevent that happening. It only actually goes up just as the train is ready for boarding. And exactly the reverse happens when the train leaves the station again. As soon as the doors are shut, the wire fence comes down and everybody's safe again. From where we were staying, the railway station was on the other side of a wide dual carriageway, as was the bus station, but we were using a train on this trip and we had to get across without any surface level crossings. The lift was out of order, so we had to go down the stairs and underneath, and virtually the whole access to the station is at low level under the road. First of all, you're crossing under the dual carriageway and it's pretty dark down here. The only lights appear to be coming from the shops. Once you come out from under the dual carriageway, you come into this open area where you do have a choice to go up to the station concourse level, and you can do that via steps, or keep going until you come to the escalators, or you can stay down at this level, which if you've already got your train ticket like we had, you just want to head for the platforms and you stay down here. The destination boards are here. Our train to Varna's on platform 13, so we keep down here and go underneath all the platforms. Each platform has stairs and escalators going up to surface level, and here we're reaching platform 13 and going up to catch our train. Friend Colin had flown in from Liverpool on the same flight as us to Sofia, but he went straight home and we stayed a few nights in the capital to have a look around. He told us that they're doing a lot of works on the main central station here, and we'd have to go out to Sofia North to catch our train up to Varna. That wasn't very clear from the destination boards, and platform 13 actually had a shuttle train out to Sofia North. They kept the far tracks running while they worked on the ones in the middle, and you can see from these pictures that there are workmen and work vehicles who dug up the track bed in the central platforms. There's about 4 or 5 lines still not in operation as we made our trip out. When we first saw this train arrive on the platform, I was hoping it would be the train we'd take all the way to Levski, which is where we get off from the Varna train. But no, Sofia North we had to change onto one of the old trains that we've always travelled on. I'll show you a more detailed view of this type of train in a moment, but first of all let's look at the map. The old-fashioned train seen in the inset takes us from Sofia, bottom left, up to Levski, near the top on the right, and you can see the river Danube and you can see where Svishtov is. That's our final leg of the journey from Levski to Svishtov. So this is what the inside of one of those trains looks like. Very comfortable seats, and the spacing of the seats is good too. So you get plenty of width, you get armrests, and there's only 3 seats in each row, as you can see. Walking up the train you can see the driver, which you may have noticed earlier, and he has a central position in his cab. So this train takes us to a number of small towns and villages. I think there are 3 or 4 stops, and you may recognise the last one as we pull into it. Regular viewers will see Oresh station, and of course the trains on this line used to look like this. This is a photograph from a couple of years ago. But it's good to see that the Siemens trains are back on the trip up to Svishtov. We don't get off at Oresh this time because until our house is finished, we're still staying at hotels in Svishtov. So that's our Transport Tuesday from Sofia right up to Svishtov. We'll be back in Sofia for the next episode because we still haven't had a good look round. So we're in Bulgaria, in the city, the capital city of Sofia, and we haven't actually looked round Sofia before, mainly because we kind of prefer Veliko Tarnovo, which was the old capital of Bulgaria, but this is the current capital, and it's got lots of old buildings and lots of history, and we're going to give you a little tour in a moment. But first of all, we may well have some entertainment for you. For one thing, there's a girl singer just over out of sight to the left there, who's setting up ready to sing, I think. But before that, I've got some entertainment from last night. Now, we picked a hotel in a back street, and I pick hotels for their location. And this one's like a 5-minute, 10-minute walk from the central station, and that's obviously our escape when we finished here. Just about 100 yards along the same street, we spotted this really old building which didn't seem to be anything much at all, but it was the most fabulous restaurant with all different rooms inside where you could go. And we were put in a fairly central room near the bar, and they laid on an orchestra, as they called it, but that might be just a translation, a little band that moved from one part of the restaurant to the other to entertain us. So I'm going to let you hear a bit of that from last night while I see if this girl's going to start singing anytime soon. If not, we have our lunch to get. So back to our girl singer, and unfortunately she's not singing any traditional Bulgarian songs. Yes, she's singing words of wisdom, so we have to let her be, I'm afraid, because we have a copyright problem if we start playing Beatles songs. So, I'm sorry girl, but not this time. I have to try and find someone else to do our traditional music. She's standing right in front of me. Now, where did that lyric come from? But also in front of Bulgaria's National Theatre. It's the oldest and most authoritative theatre in the country. Didn't know there could be such a thing. It's one of the most important landmarks in Sofia, and it's located here in the city garden. The city garden also houses that long string of fountains that you saw behind me just before. We're bringing you some more music now from this point on the map, which I'll tell you about in a minute. We were actually in Serdica, the place where all the ruins were dug up, and it was a very short walk along to where the music was. So we followed our ears and we came to the executive office of the President of the Republic of Bulgaria, which is a bit of a mouthful, so we'll call it the Presidency Building. Apparently that's okay. The Ministries of Justice, Education and Science and others are located in the same government building. The National Guard is mounted outside, and on the day we went there was obviously a presidential presence because the security people were stopping us going anywhere near. The band were playing to serenade them, no doubt, and we were able to record some of the music but not get particularly close to see what was going on. The views we got of this event were either from the other side of the road, or if we crossed onto the side where the square was, we were fronted up by the security men, who obviously didn't mind being filmed because I wasn't the only person with a camera out. Finally, you see the band marching away, the security men going off duty, and everybody relaxes again and things start to go back to normal. At this point we can get close enough to see the rest of the building and the sentries that are standing guard. Apparently they change the guard once an hour. And so we wander off to see the other tourist attractions in this area. Let's quickly go back to the Serdica area where we were sitting having lunch when we heard this music. And these are the domes I was talking about that light the area underground. And they need cleaning from time to time, so we shouldn't have been surprised that there were actually people walking over the top of them and washing them down. Quickly back to the city garden where you saw the National Theatre before. This is just to show you the extent of the fountains. This is marked on Google Maps as a photo opportunity. It's also a place where the walking tours go past. Yes, there are lots of walking tours around Sofia, and of course they're heading for the National Theatre because it is one of the main attractions. Looking back at the map, we're moving on from the presidential palace now to the Church of St. Nicholas the Miracle Maker. You can tell from the overhead view that it's surrounded by trees, so on the ground level there's only the front that you can really get a photograph of. I of course went right round it and took different aspects of it. It was built as the official church of the Russian embassy, which was located next door, and of the Russian community in Sofia. It's got 5 small domes. I don't know if you can see them all from these pictures. They're coated with gold, and the highest one is 19 metres. Just across the road from there is the Crystal Garden, and by this time we were looking for a public convenience and a drink, and they both exist in the Crystal Garden, and you'll be able to see just around the edge a number of little buildings where you could get some refreshments. After our refreshment, we headed off on a 5-minute walk up to St. Alexander Nevsky's Cathedral. We explored the area indicated by the arrow in the drone view, and there were a number of stalls selling different things. There were statues, of course. They're compulsory in Bulgaria if you want to take your photograph with them. And then we headed back to the hotel. This involves crossing the river, and if you look on the map it looks like it's quite a wide river separating the 2 lanes of a dual carriageway, but when you actually get there you'll see a big roundabout and only the trams can go through the middle, and then you look down below expecting to see a large flowing river, and it's a bit of a stream really. Rather handily, our hotel is right next to a baker, so you can get some of their local pastries before you go off for the day. The room we had was very nice, had a dual aspect with views out to the local area, again nicely landscaped. The bathroom had this huge water cylinder, which means that you don't run out of water after the first shower. Very useful. So that's our trip to Sofia, a city with some interesting and impressive buildings. It's got excellent cuisine, wonderful food, and of course the local folk music is also very entertaining and enjoyable. And it's with that we'll leave you until next time. Keep watching this channel to find out where we go to next. So we're back by the River Danube in Svishtov, one of our favourite places, and let's show you a little bit more of the supermarket we mentioned a few months ago. It's come into its own because Billa was closed down and people needed another supermarket to go to, and Billa has now reopened, but I have a suspicion that quite a few people are probably going to stick with this one, particularly as it has a built-in pharmacy or apteka. And this is definitely one of our favourite places to eat. It's the Trumpet on Aleko Square, and you may have noticed in the past that it has a horse chestnut tree right in the middle of the outside eating area. Well, at the right time of year, or shall we say the wrong time of year, if you sit out there you could either get hit on the head by a conker or scratched badly by one of the unopened shells that comes down. They clear this regularly, but no matter what time you go, you will get pelted somehow or another with these things. They have umbrellas over the tables. You think you'd be sheltered from the conkers by them, but no, they come in from all angles and they get you in the end. Ruth got hit by one of the spiky ones, and a few days later she still had the marks on her arm. I'm pretty sure I haven't noticed these signs before. They're up all around the Svishtov area, and both in Bulgarian and in English they tell you about the various monuments and buildings. The Monument of Donors I've filmed before but not really known anything about it, and it says on the sign that the two hands are the symbol of the noble act of donation and an embodiment of everything beautiful built in Svishtov. And an amount of 5 million golden levs was donated for the creation of the highest school of economics in Svishtov, and you will see it several times during the course of this programme from different angles. The clock tower was built originally in 1763, and an inscription in Arabic on 2 marble plaques offers details about its building. Well, no wonder I haven't understood what it was all about before. There's a lot of information here, and in 1890 a new clock made in Austria was installed. A little bit further on from there you'll see these 5 heads as you walk towards that Academy of Economics I was talking about. I'm in Svishtov, and behind me is the PR club. We had lunch here yesterday. We're actually under some trees now. That's normally a good thing because it shelters you from the sun, but it seems to also be attracting flies, so they're buzzing around us again. I've been trying to go up onto the hilltop to go to the sundial, the human sundial. That whole area is shut off. We normally go around via the westerly route. Couldn't get anywhere near it, so the PR club is the clue to getting up there from the easterly route. There's an old disused nightclub and things like that, and we're going to go and see if we can get in that way. But something's going on that hilltop, and I intend to find out what it is. In the meantime, I'm just going to move away from here and show you this. This is a children's playground, and not only facilities for the kids, but for the adults to sit and have their natter. So the parent place is there. I might go and sit in there for a bit and see if it's out of the flies. Trying to see what was going on in Coletto Park, we couldn't see a thing from ground level. Good job we had the drone with us, because we were able to fly up and look at it from different angles. And as you can see, they're building something, and we wondered if it was some kind of theatre, because you can see seating curving round, similar to what's in the amphitheatre. So perhaps a new amphitheatre is being built right here on the top. There's still access to the Coletto Hotel, which you can see just over on the right. In this view, we're looking back down the street at the PR club, and we're at a kind of junction here where the signpost is quite helpful, because one day we were looking for the post office and it's listed here. The Macedonian Grill still has the takeaway area, which we've used for years without realising it belonged to them. And just opposite from there, they've put up a new supermarket, and as it was a pretty warm day, I went in there and got us some ice cream. Then it was time to take the road round to the west side of Coletto Park and climb up the hill to get the view that people who live in the houses along there get. It looks down on the bus station area onto the dock road, if you can notice that, and of course across the river. So I've just been down to the end there to have a look over the Danube. From time to time we do actually see a cruise liner in there and the ferry and things like that. It's very nice here. This is the other side of the park, the Coletto Park. This is the side where there's a church, and the access to the sundial, the human sundial, and the amphitheatre is normally up there, and it isn't at the moment because of all the work they're doing. So I've still got the drone with me. In fact, I was going to talk to you with the drone filming me, but it was too noisy, so reverted back to the old camera. But we're sending the drone up over Coletto Park from this side to see if you can see any more than you could from the other side. As the drone rises up above the trees, you start to see the area where the amphitheatre seating was, and I'm going to fly it over there in a minute, but first, with it being such a clear day, I thought it would be nice to have a look around. So looking back to the west, across the town, and once again you can see the bus station down below. Move round a bit and there's the docks and the river Danube. Takes a couple of shots to appreciate just how big that area is, and here it is coming into view, the amphitheatre area, and it's got these rather large dugouts. They're sort of coffin shaped, but I think they're too big for that. There's the central stairs that used to go through the seating area. The seating's all been dug up. They've left the stairs down through the middle. And I'm going to speculate on what these cutouts might be. Now, you can see a road coming down from there, which is used by the trucks. And it appears to be closed off to the public, but I decided, as it was quiet, I seem to remember this was a Sunday, that I would walk up there and have a look round. The sundial's definitely gone, and there are these oblong cutouts. I'm wondering if this is to be some kind of foundations, and it's going to be filled with concrete, and they're going to build something new here. But I think it'll be a few months before I can discover what that is, so we'll come back another time. Back in the town and on the main road, I wonder if you can see something that's changed in these pictures. In this shot, I'm standing on the paving that used to be throughout the town, and ahead of me you can see the new paving they've been putting down. Looking back the other way, I'm standing on the new paving now. I'm wondering if they're eventually going to do the whole street. This is a section they were still working on when we came this way yesterday, and the whole pavement was closed and we had to walk in the road. So now it's finished and there's some building materials left around. I wonder if they're actually left over. I could do with some slabs like this for the driveway at my house. So, our stories of Bulgaria, and I sit here with a glaring sun, and I've never actually bought any sunglasses, so I seem to manage, but if I squint a bit, that's why. I'm sitting on a balcony with sort of echoey sound around here, and I've got a tremendous view, which I'll show you in a while. But first of all, I'd like to talk about our experiences in Svishtov. You may be familiar with booking.com, where you can select a town, and I would select Svishtov, where you can then click view on map, and it shows you all the properties in Svishtov that are available for you to stay in. Now, there's not that many in Svishtov, and they range from, as you can see, £130 odd a week. That's a weekly rate, not a daily, and up to £209 if you can spot that one. That's the Nove Hotel, which we have stayed in from time to time. Well, this time there was a new venue advertised when I came to book, and it was called the Live-In Bulgaria, or Live-In Town Bulgaria, Bulgaria Town. But the key was Live In, and I spelt I-double-N, so we thought it would be an inn or some other such place. We had to pay in advance. It was non-refundable, so were we taking a risk? Well, I didn't think so, but as it turned out, that was quite a risk, as I could never get my money back if it all went wrong. And it did. But not in the way you might think. Now, look on the map, you'll see where the location is. It's stated as being 400 metres from the centre. Now, they define the centre as the area where the main church is and villa. That's regarded as the centre, so it's 400 metres from there. But I also know the area, so I could see on the map that it was on the corner of a street where the French cafe is. So I couldn't see it on Google Maps at the time, and if you click on Google Maps at that location, and bring up the pictures as you can, you'll not see any sort of accommodation. You'll see a single-story shop. So we set off, we took the train, and we arrived at Svishtov station. I ordered a taxi, and I showed her the printed out booking.com form for this venue, and she shook her head. She said she'd never heard of it. And I said, well, that address? No. So I said, well, it's by the French cafe. And she says, French cafe, I take you to the French cafe? Is that okay? I said, yes. So we got out by the French cafe, had a good look round, couldn't see any accommodation at all. I took my own photos, don't know who took the Google ones, but my own video shows the corner where this property should have been. And as you can see, just shops, so didn't exist. I thought, well, I'll have to use the booking.com messaging system. And I got a message back from that saying, come down to the Danube hotel. And I thought, okay, maybe they're handling the bookings. I'll be able to go and pick up the keys there and they'll tell me where it is. No. There was a girl on reception when I got there, and she offered me the keys to 3 rooms in the Danube hotel, and which, by the way, is Bulgarian for Danube. And it does have the views overlooking Elliko Square and in the distance the River Danube. However, I've stayed in that hotel many times before, never been totally happy with the service that you get there. Then the rooms are very small, I'll show you those later. But not a lot we could do. I questioned it with the girl. She said, I don't know what the answer is. I'm just doing what my boss has told me to do. And her boss had told her to give us a selection of rooms on the first floor of the Danube Hotel. They all look the same, and certainly not the luxury that was promised. By the way, I'll show you the advert's graphic, which looks like this, and it promises a luxury room. We expected this would be a place for the first time that we could stay and cater for ourselves, because what we look for when we're away is a home away from home. We were disappointed. Not a lot we could do because the girl was under the instructions from her boss, and the venue that we were booked for doesn't appear to exist at all. It's, well, let's use the word, it's a scam. You cannot advertise a place that isn't there. The Danube Hotel is 700 metres from the centre, so definitely couldn't be confused with one that's 400 metres from the centre. We are not happy, and even if I'd thought of staying at the Danube Hotel again, that is now never going to happen. It may still be sunny here on some days, but it goes dark pretty early, so going out for an evening meal we had to find our way in the dark. If you know this area on the main road where the I-Bank is, then head down there to the left of the church, down to the bottom of there's a well-lit building, and just down the street nearly opposite is a restaurant that we'd not come across before. It's called Bandy. The food was really excellent. There's a place for the kids to play while you're eating, and my guess would be that during the daytime it's probably some sort of creche that they run here. Tiramisu number 3 this week. I'm testing them all. It's pretty much the best, I think. And from here it's just a 5-minute walk back to the Danube Hotel that we've been forced to stay in. Okay, am I getting too picky about the Danube Hotel? Well, let me tell you a little bit about it. Exactly the same reaction we had last year when we came, and as a result, when I've started coming back to Bulgaria this year, I haven't used it again. So we had our arm twisted this time in no uncertain fashion. It's still got unreliable internet. We picked a room with the router right outside the door, and there was still, I mean, it's a good Wi-Fi signal, but still no internet on this particular Wi-Fi signal. The rooms are quite small. They contain 2 single beds. The so-called kitchenette is just a kitchen base unit. There's no facilities at all. There's no crockery or cutlery. There was not even a kettle, not a microwave, not a toaster, nothing, absolutely empty. And so we had to go out and buy cardboard cups. There was a fridge, let's give them that. They did provide a fridge, so we could put some bottles of water and other liquids in the fridge. Then you've got this very small wet room. It floods everything when you have a shower, despite a sort of semi-partition. There's no light in the shower area, so you can't see whether you're getting washed or not. And generally, the lighting in the rooms there is very poor, because there's one big overhead light which you're never going to want on. It's too glaringly bright. And there was one bedside light, if you can call it that, which was just behind the bed on the bed I chose. If I sat up in bed, I'd bang my head on it. And it didn't work anyway, so it was a complete waste of space. So we basically had the room lit most of the time by having the TV on. Exactly the same as last time we stayed there last year. They provided one toilet roll, ran out in a couple of days. They're very small and thin toilet rolls you get here. I didn't see any cleaners. In the old days of the hotel, when it had a different name, you used to see the cleaning staff up and down the corridor all the time. They were very helpful. They actually offered you extra toilet rolls, and would you like some clean towels, and would you like your bed changed? When we saw them in the corridor, we didn't see anyone for the whole week we were there. We ended up going to a supermarket and buying some toilet rolls ourselves. So far we've bought paper cups to drink out of, and toilet rolls for obvious reasons. There's a kind of reception cubicle downstairs which is sometimes manned, sometimes not, but mostly not. There's a lot of work going on in the hotel, and we kept finding our exit blocked. And when on the day we actually left, the main stairway going down to reception was completely closed off. The reason for that is they're putting in a lift shaft, which is probably a good thing, but it won't improve the rooms, and it won't make them into luxury rooms. This huge hotel with its long sterile corridors, it won't make it into a cosy building, which is how the live-in was described. A couple of other minor things which didn't spoil our week, I grant you. The bedding doesn't fit properly, so as you turn over in the night, it comes with you, and you wake up in the morning just laying on the mattress. The bins were never emptied, so we had to start using the bathroom bin as an overflow. We had to let a lot of rubbish pile up around the bin. The other strange thing was they only gave us 2 towels, not particularly big towels, no hand towel, or my wife would call it a hair towel. And so basically we had to use the same towel all week and hope it dried by the next day, and hope there was enough of it to completely dry our bodies. We're not the smallest of people in the world, so we expect to have a decent sized towel. Well, that's enough towel talk. It's the end of our visit to Svishtov, and we have one more night to spend here, so we'll wander around and visit all our old favourite places for one last time before we move on. See you next time. So here I am walking up the Maritsa Boulevard in Oresh, which is the road where my house is. You're going to hear a lot of noise from the drone because it is tracking me as I walk up the lane, but it's doing it from far too near. I haven't got used to the settings yet, so I don't know how to make it work from further away. It can be done, but it's only about, I don't know, the most 2 meters away at the moment. Anyway, I'm walking up the lane. If I move over here, it should... Gosh, that was quite a swing. You better come back over here. There's tall grass there. All right then, you're going to follow me now. There's some strange things. Now, taking pictures into the sun is not what we really want to do, so let me turn around again. That's going to follow me down sideways now. Now, it's not behaving particularly well, and we were sitting in a bar yesterday, and a firmware update came through, and I actually applied it while I was drinking beer, but as you may guess, that seemed a little bizarre to us. We were sitting outside the Versailles Hotel on a table with a couple of drinks on it and a drone in the middle that was powered up and updating itself over the internet. Today I'm flying the drone over the roof of my house to see how it survived the winter, There's a few glitches that probably need some attention, but we also need the roof at the back finishing off around the edges and the timbers cutting and the drain pipes putting in. A few jobs up top anyway, and as we're approaching another winter, probably give it a complete review next spring to see what needs doing. While we're up at this height, it seems a good idea to have a look round at the scenery, get an aerial view of where we're located, and realise once again that we've located ourselves in a really nice area. Well, here I am at my house in Oresh, near Svishtov, and it's only been a couple of months since I was here, and I had a couple of gardeners clear all this, but as you can see, it grows back very quickly. In fact, luckily Colin had some shears in his car because we were having trouble getting through the gate and coming up the path to get onto the land in the first place. But we've now cleared away, so we got this far. Because the gardeners that we used are no longer living in the village, we're talking to someone else today who's going to meet us here shortly and discuss all this growth. We've got some spare building materials around the back there, but can't get to them at the moment. So I thought the skip was going to be the first job in the clearance exercise, but no, it's going to be clearing the garden. The skip has been a problem, and we've had problem with calling it a skip because they call them containers, so I'm not going to call it a skip-tainer, and we can't get one. There are 3 in the area, they're all full, nobody's emptying them, so we can't get one up here yet. I'm going to have to move on from here to my next destination. Not going home yet, but I'm not coming back here. So Colin has kindly said he'll supervise getting a skip, which means that he'll have to be the labour to fill it, which means I've managed to opt out. I didn't mean to, I meant to be here helping, but c'est la vie, as they say in some country or other. So there we are. Oh, you should have a look round before we go. We'll do a little tour of the outside and also remind you of how we're getting on with the inside. And I do have some news on that, in that the other day I had Stefan, who, if you watched our development last year, Stefan was the guy who did all the concreting and plastering and all that stuff. He's been and given a quote for putting us a floor in the bathroom. I always think that's a good start, something to walk on, and we build up from that. There's a lot to do in the bathroom, including the wiring, the plumbing, and just about everything really. But we're getting started with that, and I shall look forward to seeing how far he gets. Looking round the outside plot, you can see there are 2 types of waste to get rid of. The skip that's needed is for all the old building materials, and the gardener is needed for all the shrubbery, weeds and whatever else we need pulling up.
Push me away.
On the inside, and starting in the bathroom extension, you can see this is where all the rubble's been left, so that needs clearing out first, and then Stefan will come in with his team and start to concrete the floor. We'll take a walk around the rest of the house while we're here, and as you can see, there's still a lot of finishing needs doing, but we definitely get that nice feeling from the inside. It's open plan, we wander around, we have the views out, and we're looking forward to one day being able to move in. One final look round, and then we'll just pop over to Colin's house. He's been doing a lot of work there himself.
Escape, no. They don't know is that. They don't know is that. They never escape, no.
I just couldn't resist filming these downpipes because I don't think I've ever seen them brand new, and how shiny they are. After a few months they become weathered and quite dull looking, so here we are, brand new shiny pipes, lovely. You may also notice that some of the old windows are still in, but a lot of them have been replaced with modern double glazing. Some neighbours of Colin's recently moved away from the area and they left a dog behind, so guess who's adopted the dog? Or rather, the dog has adopted Colin. Colin made a short trip back to the UK while I was still in Bulgaria, and because he drives places and takes his car, he was able to use the ferry from Svishtov. When you get to Romania on this particular ferry, there's no public transport, so that's the reason I don't use it. But Colin has provided me with this video, which he made on the way over the River Danube. The trucks come down the ramp onto the ferry and park alongside each other, ready to get off on the other side, and Colin's car looks a little lonely out there on his own. As they pull away from the docks, you see some of the well-known landmarks in Svishtov from a totally different perspective. Davey is the driver on this trip up to Bucharest airport, and neither Colin nor I think much of that airport, but it is the shortest route and the cheapest way back to Liverpool. So the ferry pulls into Zimnica and they can start the shortish road trip up to Bucharest airport. There isn't much leeway on this ramp up to dry land, and the trucks take up the full width of it, so it's important to make sure that the ferry doesn't move, and this is done by locking a metal bar in place. Ruth and I have moved on to Rusa. We're going to spend a few days there, but Colin only spent a few days in the UK, and he's back now in Oresh, and he agreed, as we said earlier, to look after my house while I'm away. And the first thing was the clearance of the garden. New handyman Tim has cleared the garden, and Colin's up there with the camera to film the results. So as you can see, it's now nice and clear, and you can see what you're doing again. You can see where my building supplies are and so on. And you may also notice that the views down into the valley are obscured by cloud. There's a lot of low-lying cloud on this particular day. There's a clear run up the steps now for the tradesmen to come in, although they tend to use the driveway entrance. You'll see that the building materials are still lying around. We still haven't got a skip or receptacle or whatever they were going to call it, but at least we have some work going on inside the house. The metal grids to reinforce the concrete have been delivered a few days earlier, and they're already in place. You'll see those in a moment. And here comes the tip. That is to say, here comes the truck to tip its load. I was both amused and impressed by the way they'd purpose-built a ramp to get the materials into the house. And now we can see the work that was done a few days ago. The metal grids are held in place by these concrete blobs, and the blobs have been levelled, of course, by Stefan with his laser device. Colin was telling me that the weather has gone very cold now in Oresh, but it's still a nice bright sunny day, and that's all they really need. They wouldn't be attempting this in a storm, obviously, so they prepare the ramp and get started, and apparently the concreting of the floor is best if it's all done in one day, so a long day ahead. And this is the process as seen from inside the house. They fill the wheelbarrow, they bring it up the ramp into the house, and they wheel it round to the back where it's needed. And we're looking at the progress here towards the end of the day when Colin got back to see if they were going to finish in one day, and it looks like they're nearly there. And that's all we'll have from the little house in the village until 2025.